What I believe is happening, and this is my opinion, based off of what had happened to me, where if you watch the other video, I talked about how when I was going through this magazine that was fully loaded, probably maybe halfway through, roughly, I would say about maybe 20 rounds, maybe a little less into it, my rifle jammed. And I said, "Hey, what happened?" So I dropped the magazine, and all the rounds were rattling around loose in the top here. Um, and what I found was this follower was canted, or you know stuck, kind of tilted in there. And I believe what happens is when this follower tilts slightly, where those two guides ride on these two little recesses on each side of the follower, it gets caught and it gets stuck. I was trying to figure out what kind of options I had to work with there to make it more reliable, and I looked on the inside and I said it might be kind of difficult to sand down the surface in here and try to even it out because it's inside this small area and this small pocket in here. It's very hard to work inside there to do that. So I started looking at it and I said, well, what can I do as far as maybe modifying a follower to work in there? And after looking at this one, there's a lot of clearance where it doesn't really get stuck unless it tilts. That's the best way to sum up what I was having happen to me. I actually just had a few of these, laying around. And since I already had these mags that I was kind of stuck with, couldn't sell them in good conscience because of the reliability problems, I figured, well, maybe I'll give my hand at trying to modify one of these followers. So first thing I did was I wanted to see, this is a factory Magpul style anti-tilt or self-leveling follower, as they believe they call it. I want to see, well, will it fit in there? Just would it even slide in? So I tried it, and it was kind of a stiff fit. You can see it doesn't fall out of the magazine. I said, well, I can look and see where it needs to be cleared. So I started with shaving off some material where I felt it needed to be shaved off, which is kind of on the edges here on both sides, like basically the four corners, and just kind of test fitted it, see how it fit, and then it would kind of slide in the magazine a little further, and eventually I got it to where it would basically slide basically by tipping the magazine upside down almost to the top of the magazine. I found that it was a little bit tighter fit once you got close to about this area. The follower wouldn't quite slide all the way, so I had to do a little more clearancing on it, which to do that I basically just used a utility knife and shaved it, just basically shaved across the material to kind of remove slight amount of material each time until I got the proper fit. So there really isn't an exact dimension I can give you for what to trim off because, as I may have said earlier, these magazines may have large variances in the inner dimensions due to just the molding process that they use. So I can't really give you an exact dimension for it, and anything you see me do in this video is try at your own risk. So after I had clearance the factory Magpul follower to get it to slide all the way up to the top of the magazine without much issue there, the spring could easily push it up and it wouldn't get stuck or anything, and had that all worked out, I tried loading the magazine, and after I reassembled it with the new spring and the floor plate and everything, I tried loading the magazine, and I found I could only get 28 rounds inside of it. And I said, oh man, that's not good. I mean, maybe I'll have a magazine that works, but I want it to have the full capacity of the magazine. So I said, well, what do I need to do to get that to work? So I realized that the follower wasn't able to go all the way to the bottom of the magazine. You notice, like, we'll kind of show differences here. Like, one issue is, and I'll kind of turn this sideways, this is the factory follower. You can kind of see there's no guide on the back of this follower, as we discussed, which allows for clearance of the bottom of the floor plate here. to kind of give you clearance for this little tab here that holds the floor plate in place. So that was kind of an issue. So I said, well, what can I do? So I went ahead and I trimmed some material out, basically made a square cut. I wanted to leave these tangs here, or this part of the guide on this follower in place, because I wanted as much contact surface with the four corners of the follower so that it would help, reduce the amount of tilt you might get or cant inside the mag body. Besides making that notch, I also had to trim off the bottom of the follower. I trimmed maybe about 1/8 of an inch. I haven't really measured it, but again, you have to kind of test fit everything because there's variances in these magazines. So after I did that, I also kind of found, one other part that where it was hitting was, as you can maybe kind of see, this front of the follower, the bottom, front edge of it, is hitting on these two little posts that are on the bottom of the floor plate. And I also, this third post back here was a little bit of an issue for the back one. So what I do with that is I went ahead and took out the Dremel and basically just trimmed them off as as close to flush. Now I can get my 30 rounds in it. And you may ask, well, that's a lot of work to kind of make this cheap magazine function. Well, you're absolutely right. I wouldn't say go out and buy these magazines and make this modification to them. Not unless you just like the way they look or something and you want to buy some and play around with it and just have something to do as a hobby. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want something that works out of the box or out of the packaging, spend a couple bucks more and get something that works, because realistically there's not a big price difference between this mag and some decent quality magazines. Anyhow, I'm going to reassemble this. So as you can see, I was able to load the 30 rounds into it, no problem. The last one's a little bit stiff to put in, or a little bit, firm of fit, but very similar to the regular USGI style magazines when you put the last round into them. I don't think it'll cause any issue as far as functionality, and we'll test it out at the range and see how it does, and I'll update the video, I'll update you guys with another video, that is. And my only hope from this experience is, one, I might be able to help somebody who already was in the same predicament that I was in, where they might be able to modify their magazines that they already purchased to obtain improved reliability out of them and functionality. And my second hope is that maybe the powers that be that are at Thermold magazines may look at this and come up with the idea of maybe wanting to redesign this follower and add an extra guide on the back to make it like an anti-tilt style follower, where it may greatly improve the reliability of these magazines, and it's going to improve the customers' experience with them. So next time, guys, thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, comment below, and have fun shooting.